this is Jyoti. Let's dive into the details. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu strongly condemned the UK, Australia and Canada's decision to recognize a Palestinian state, calling it a great price to terrorism. He asserted that such recognition undermines peace efforts and rewards violent extremism. Netanyahu reiterated that a Palestinian state will not be established west of the Jordan River, signaling Israel's firm stance. The move by the three nations reflects growing international frustration over Israel's actions in Gaza and settlement expansion. Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid blamed Netanyahu's government for the diplomatic fallout, while Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich labeled the recognition anti-Israeli. Netanyahu is expected to discuss the issue further during upcoming meetings at the UN General Assembly and with US President Donald Trump.
יש לי מסר ברור לאותם מנהיגים שמכירים במדינה פלסטינית לאחר הטבח הנורא ב-7 באוקטובר. אתם מעניקים פרס עצום לטרור. ויש לי מסר נוסף עבורכם. זה לא יהיה. לא תקום מדינה פלסטינית ממערב לירדן. במשך שנים אני מנעתי את הקמתה של מדינת טרור זו מול לחצים אדירים, גם מבית וגם מן החוץ. עשינו זאת בנחישות ועשינו זאת בתבונה מדינית. לא כל שכן. הכפלנו את ההתיישבות היהודית ביהודה ושומרון ונמשיך בדרך זו. המענה לניסיון האחרון לכפות עלינו מדינת טרור בלב ארצנו, המענה הזה יינתן לאחר שובי מארצות הברית. תמתינו.
Israel is pounding Gaza City with some of the heaviest strikes in 2 years of war, pushing ahead with an offensive to seize the territory's largest urban center. Witnesses report entire blocks being leveled, with the families trapped under debris, particularly in the Tel El Hawa neighborhood. The Israeli military warned residents to evacuate via the Al Rashid coastal road, the only permitted escape route. As of mid-September, around 450,000 people have fled Gaza City, with many walking long distances under relentless bombardment. The operation has intensified the humanitarian crisis. With a famine already confirmed in the region.
Its enormous vitality. So we could not fail to respond to the horrors that have been creeping up around us.
We will no longer accept that our democracy is tied to anything. So today we are here fighting against an amnesty for Jair Bolsonaro.
President Donald Trump is set to deliver a high-profile address to the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday, showcasing his combative approach to global diplomacy. Despite his frequent criticism of the UN, Trump relishes the spotlight the international stage provides. His speech is expected to underscore his administration's hardline positions on issues like the Gaza conflict. North Korea and Iran. While reaffirming his America First doctrine, many world leaders are reportedly bracing for a confrontational tone, as Trump remains defiant and isolated on several key global issues.
8 months into his second term, President Donald Trump has taken an aggressive approach to the United Nations as he pursues his America First agenda. Trump drastically cut funding to aid groups and the UN after announcing the United States' withdrawal from the Human Rights Council and other agencies, and ordered a sweeping review of America's involvement in the world body. Even as he undermines it, Trump still believes the UN has potential.
There are great hopes for it, but it's not being well run, to be honest.
The mood in the halls of the UN headquarters is grim as Trump prepares to deliver his fifth address to the United Nations General Assembly.
This is by far the most stressed the UN system has ever been in its 80 years.
In his first term, Trump addressed the annual gathering of world leaders 4 times, using this international stage to pursue his nationalist foreign policy.
The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots.
Trump's headline speech on Tuesday will be closely watched.
Challenging other countries over their criticism of Israel, then I think everyone will be very nervous.
Richard, as yet unannounced results of the White House review of the UN.
Vice President J.D. Vance delivered a heartfelt tribute to Charlie Clerk on Sunday, praising him as a visionary who transformed the face of conservation. Speaking before tens of thousands gathered at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, Vance emphasized Clerk's role in energizing young conservatives and reshaping the movement's cultural identity. The memorial drew a wide array of political figures, including President Donald Trump, who also spoke at the event, alongside prominent conservative voices and grassroots activists. The scale of the turnout underscored Clerk's influence and the deep resonance of his legacy within the American right.
You know, I can't help but think that they tried to silence my friend Charlie Kirk. They tried to silence our dear friend Charlie Kirk. And today, tonight, we speak with Charlie and for Charlie louder than ever. He transformed the face of conservatism in our own time, and in doing so, he changed the course of American history. In the wake of his death, we have seen some of the very worst parts of humanity. We have watched people slander him. We have watched people justify his murder and celebrate his death. I know that this makes you angry just as it has made me angry. But it is easy in these moments to see only the worst of our fellow man. I found myself wishing that I could pick up the phone and talk to my friend and ask him for his advice and his counsel, to ask him how to respond to such hate and the souls from which that hate springs. But I can't call my friend because he was murdered for speaking the truth. My friends, for Charlie, we must remember that he is a hero to the United States of America.
In a deeply moving tribute at the memorial service for Charlie Clerk, his widow Enka Clerk shared that amid her profound grief, she finds solace in knowing her husband left this world without regret. Speaking to tens of thousands gathered at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, Enka stunned many by publicly forgiving the man charged with killing her husband. I choose forgiveness, she said, because Charlie would have wanted grace to triumph over vengeance. Her words drew tears and standing ovations, underscoring the emotional weight of the ceremony and the enduring impact of Clerk's legacy.
My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life. That man, I forgive forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do. The answer to hate is not hate. The answer we know from the gospel.
President Donald Trump led tributes to Charlie Kirk on Sunday evening, hailing the late conservative activist as a great American hero and a martyr for freedom during a packed memorial service at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Surrounded by prominent conservative leaders, Trump emphasized Kirk's unwavering commitment to liberty and his role in galvanizing a new generation of right-wing voices. Charlie's work must not only be remembered, it must be advanced, Trump declared, urging attendees to carry forward Kirk's legacy. The event drew tens of thousands, reflecting Kirk's deep influence across the conservative movement.
America is a nation in grief, a nation in shock, and a nation in mourning. Less than 2 weeks ago, our country was robbed of one of the brightest lights of our times, a giant of his generation, and above all, a devoted husband, father, son, Christian, and patriot. Charles James Kirk was heinously murdered by a radicalized, cold-blooded monster for speaking the truth that was in his heart. He was violently killed because he spoke for freedom and justice, for God, country, for reason, and for common sense. He was assassinated because he lived bravely, he led boldly, and he argued brilliantly without apology. He did what was right for our nation. And so on that terrible day, September 10th, 2025, our greatest evangelist for American liberty became immortal. He's a martyr now for American freedom. I know I speak for everyone here today when I say that none of us will ever forget Charlie Kirk, and neither now will history.
Top officials from the White House, along with the prominent conservative leaders, are set to pay tribute to slain activist Charlie Kirk in a series of memorial events this week. Kirk's assassination has sent shockwaves through the political landscape, deepening partisan divides and prompting renewed debates over political violence and security. The memorial, held at the State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, drew tens of thousands of moments, including President Donald Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The speeches emphasized Kirk's legacy as a transformative figure in American conservatism and called for unity in advancing his vision.
The apostles, they lived in truth.
You will always be holy, holy is our God. And therefore God exalted him to the highest place.
More than 10,000 people sought refuge in schools and evacuation centers across northern Luzon on Monday as Super Typhoon Ragasa unleashed torrential rains and gale force winds over the region. The storm, locally known as Nando, packed sustained winds of 215 km per hour with a gust reaching up to 265 km per hour, prompting widespread shutdowns of schools, offices and transportation. Authorities warned of life-threatening storm surges up to 3 meters. Severe flooding and landslides, especially in low-lying coastal towns such as Cagayan, Batanes and Ilocos Norte. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. suspended government work and classes in Metro Manila and 29 provinces while disaster agencies remained on full alert. The typhoon is expected to continue westward through the Luzon Strait, threatening Taiwan, Hong Kong and southern China in the coming days.
Grabe, ang ito nun.
Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has officially devastated its remaining stake in Chinese electric vehicle giant BYD, according to a Hong Kong stock exchange filing. The move marks the end of a 17-year investment that began in 2008 when Berkshire purchased 225 million shares for about $230 million. Over the years, the stake grew more than 20-fold in value, peaking at over $8 billion. Berkshire began trimming its holdings in BYD in 2022, sparking speculation about its long-term confidence in the China's EV market. The final sale comes amid rising geopolitical tensions and increased scrutiny of Chinese investments. BYD, now one of the world's largest EV manufacturers, continues to expand globally despite the exit of one of its most prominent backers.
Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has fully exited BYD. It brings an end to a 17-year investment that grew more than 20-fold during that period. A filing by Berkshire's energy subsidiary recorded the value of its BYD investment as zero as of end of March. That was down from $415 million at the end of last year. Buffett's company began investing in the Chinese electric vehicle maker in 2008. It paid $230 million at the time for the equivalent of a 10% stake. Berkshire began selling those shares 3 years ago after BYD's share price had risen more than 20-fold. The investment giant didn't immediately respond to a request for comment on Monday.